All right. Hey guys, this is Embrace Nerd, and today we're going to be talking about Eternals. Now, this is going to be a spoiler overview, so if you are not a fan of spoilers and you haven't seen the movie, then you need to leave, watch the movie, and come back to partake in this discussion. We are going to talk about things that I didn't like. We're going to talk about the things that might have been a little cringy or I can understand people not liking. And then we're going to get into the things that I liked. And we're going to get into the things that I will speculate and see what we have for the future. So, now that being said, let's get started. Okay. Things I didn't like. The villains. I liked the deviants as far as creatures. But when the deviant starts to adapt and become more intelligent, starts to become the character in the comics that certain nerds may know as Crow, I thought the opportunity was wasted. Now, I think it was cool when Thena kills the character, but I think it would have been a lot cooler if that creature would have just stayed a creature. I don't feel like wasting character for that moment was needed. Because if Crow could have lived, I think you're building, because it feels like you're building up to something. When Crow starts to adapt by absorbing the Eternals' abilities and starts to get stronger, wiser, starts to evolve, I found that was very interesting, and I thought that would be a character that I would have been interested to see moving forward. And I thought it would have been interesting and would have laid out some of the things later on that could have helped layer some of the philosophy and some of the arguments into the movie. I think sometimes people can be hypocritical. And I'll give you a quick example. I was listening to a spoiler review of this movie because I was trying to wrap my own head about what I thought. And I heard this guy talking about how divided we are as people right now and how he wishes we could all learn to come together. And then all of a sudden, like maybe an hour later, he starts talking. I leave the video and I come back. It's like a live video. I leave and I come back, and this person is saying some really hateful stuff about a political group that he disagrees with. Okay? There's a disconnect there. So it's like we can all have peace besides these people. Like these people can't have peace, but everyone else can have peace. That's okay. And it's such blind hypocrisy. And I think as movies, we're going to start having this problem in the future where morality, whenever we have morality type, philosophical type conversations, that even in those movies, we're going to have hypocrisy when it comes to those topics. And I thought maybe for the subject of verisimilitude, having things all kind of circle in and come together in a nice package at the end, I think it would have been very interesting if Crow could not only have survived, but maybe even helped them at the end. And maybe him still being a bad guy, maybe him still seeking power, this and that, but I would have found that interesting, and I would have been very curious to see where that character could have went to the future. But yet again, Marvel tends to waste certain characters for either turning villains into quote-unquote good guys that you won't ever see again, or to just kill them off. So I thought it was a missed opportunity, but it is what it is. Let me think. So the next thing that I probably didn't like, I thought, I'll put it this way. Ajax to me, I thought was miscast. I like Selma Hayek a lot, but I thought she was miscast. And I would say that maybe with more time, I think I would have liked her more. And I did like certain moments. And I liked the compassion Icarus had for her. But some of the scenes with her, I just felt to be kind of silly. And to be honest, I didn't take very seriously. So I wasn't a fan of that. Besides that, though, I think there was certain times that the characters didn't feel connected, and maybe this is it. When the characters separate in the movie, and then after that point, we are trying to get the characters back together again. To me, that took a long time, and I think the reveal of Icarus being a bad guy and everything else that kind of went on, I think would have been better. But instead, they took time to slowly get people back together. So by the time you have those reveals and you have all the things at the end, I don't know if I cared as much as I should have. So that was a problem I had. I don't know if you call that pacing issue. I don't know where you would label that as an issue. But to me, I just think that having the characters together longer would have made more sense. And I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more. Now, let's get into the things that I think could be problematic, that I'm not necessarily going to speak on how I feel either way, but I'm going to address these issues. And maybe I'll share a little bit, but neither here nor there. I think the sex scene was kind of cringe. I don't know if it's just... And it was funny, I heard someone say that there was no thrusting. Like, what's the big deal? There was no thrusting. It's like, there was definitely some thrusting. And to me, the thrusting and the sounds, them having their conversation during their entanglement, I thought just wasn't needed. It's not needed. I know we live in a world of different beliefs and different personal views when it comes to those things. I know some people would say that, what does it matter? We show these kids violence, but you're too scared to show these kids sexuality. And I think there's something to be said about that. And I think the biggest issue is violence begins with us at a very young age. Babies can be violent. Children can be violent. That's something that kids can understand and know. And so having these big battles, having these big things happen, I think it's good for kids to see those things, possibly if a parent chooses to take their kids to those movies, but they know what they're getting. They know they're going to get an action-packed movie. They don't know they're going to get a movie that's going to have a sex scene in it, because parents may not look those things up, as they should, but they may not know. And if the MCU is willing to do this, then I think it's fair to say they're probably going to be willing to give us a rated R Deadpool. We'll see if that happens. But I did think it was kind of cringe. And maybe it was just because you could hear them and they were talking and it was just weird. I think, there's been sex scenes. Daredevil, there was a sex scene, but, not the show, the movie, but, they're laying in the sheets together, they're kissing, what's happening, but it doesn't mean your kid fully understands, and maybe that's where it should be left, where the kid just goes, oh, they're making out, instead of what that was, because I'm sure there was a lot of uncomfortable conversations that did not need to be had. So that's where I stand on that. The other thing that I think people are going to have an issue with, and for me, I think it just wasted a lot of time. But if they would have said this character was gay and then did not let him have a husband and all those things, then I think we would have another situation where people would complain. But for me, it was kind of a waste of time to spend all that time in the house and all those different things. But, it kind of shows where he was in this one scene and then shows where he left off. Maybe this show would have been better if it would have been a show, like I just called it, instead of a movie. Maybe it should have been a show. Maybe it would have been a lot better as a show, and I think it probably would have been. But it didn't get to do that. It's okay. But it's just... It is what it is. But that is a situation that could have been better done. betterly done. I don't know. Anyway, but Fastos I did think was a okay character. He was fine. It's like whatever, okay, but you know, it was what it was. I don't know. I feel like I know that Chloe Zhao was given that. So when a director does a movie, I know a lot of times the studios will say, hey, we want you to do these things, or we have these things already ready for you. So come make your pitch, but these things are absolute. These things need to happen. And from my understanding, certain things were already set in stone for those things to happen. And one of those was Fastos being gay. Now the question is does that necessarily ensure that the character is going to be good? If they go, okay, this character is definitely going to be gay, now make this a whole flesh character around this? Or is it better for the director to come up with those decisions herself? I don't know what the right answer is to that, but I will say that some of the things did seem forced, and then some of the things seemed genuine. Like him being a dad did seem pretty genuine. So, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It is what it is. I have a feeling that if China would have taken this movie, their bravery that they did with these other countries about not cutting that scene, I don't think that would have happened if China would have forced them to take it out. I think if China told them to take it out, they would take it out, because Hollywood simps for the China, for the CCP. So let's get into the things that I actually did like, and then let's get into the things that I'm actually hopeful for in the future. So one of the things that I actually liked the cinematography a lot. I saw a review of some guys saying they didn't. They thought that part was dumb, but I have to disagree with them. I thought that it was actually really, really good, and I really enjoyed it. I actually hope that the rest of the movies in the future have that look, because it did have a film quality look to it that I think is different than some of the other MC movies that we've had, and I really liked the way it looked. So I hope in the future that they actually keep this look, but we'll see. Another thing that I liked that some may not like, I like Icarus and his transition to being a bad guy. Not only that, but I actually liked most of the ending. Not only did I understand it, but I did like it. And what I will say is I think a lot of people that may not like this movie is going to be because they don't necessarily either understand or want to understand the ending. And for me, these characters were definitely not deontological. I'm going to say that word wrong. But it was, the way Captain America is, okay? Captain America is a character that says, we do not trade lives. They tried to find a way to see if they could put the Celestial asleep. They couldn't do that. So they found a way to kill him. And he was willing to die. But people are divided on this subject in the Eternals, because you have certain Eternals that think that things need to go the way they've always gone, because how are we to say what the Celestials can and cannot do? And then there's the other side that says, but we love these people here. So the decision at the end of the day, and I would say this is a good decision, mainly because it's us, but the decision was a selfish decision, which was to save the people of Earth. Because there is a chance that they killed, or they prevented billions and billions of people from living. And I think a lot of people won't understand this conflict, because they're like, hey bro, I'm human, so duh, like I gotta live. But I think we fail to realize that if you're at a farm and a cow is going to be killed, the cow could wonder, why me? Like, I should live, The cow may not care about your life, but there is a circle of life that we live in. And the fact that we could make our end so others could live seems to be beyond most of us. And I don't even know necessarily if to say that if we're worth it or not. I think every life has value. But they take a utilitarian, anyway. They take that utilitarian response to say, you know what? We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but we're going to say that these lives matter more than this because we care and we love these people. So I thought it was interesting, and I understood why not only did Icarus make the decisions that he made, but I actually understand the decision at the end. Because for me, not only is it like the poetic idea of Icarus flying into the sun, which is his name, so fulfilling the legend of his name, go ahead and fulfilling that character's destiny. But when he tries to go against the other Eternals and then loses, and then having them all connected together, and Cersei using him, using the other ones because he couldn't kill her because he loved her, and feeling the fact that Celestial that he tried to save was even willing to die at the place of humans. I think there was a lot of shame in his eyes, and I don't know if you've ever met anyone that felt an intense measure of shame. And I think depression could be done in two different ways. Depression to me is something that can just build and build and build and build and build until maybe, sadly, you may make a fatal decision that, hopefully none of you have. And if you're struggling with that, I hope you get help. But then there's others who maybe make a mistake and they all of a sudden feel this huge weight of shame. And maybe if they could have been talked down, maybe they would choose something different. But for him, he feels like his life, there's nowhere else to go. He feels probably that he made the wrong decision and that he went against, his love for what he believed in. And since he did that and he failed, he's left with nothing. He did not succeed in what he was trying to do. And he's left looking at the woman that will probably never love him again, at least in that way. Maybe compassionate, maybe understanding, but I do not believe that she will ever love Icarus again. Now, at first, I disagreed with this. At first, I thought it was a mistake that they let him die, but I do understand the story aspects of it, and now that I understand it, I get it, and I can sympathize with it and understand that maybe it was the best decision. The rest of the stuff is fine. This isn't like the best movie in the world to me. It's a good movie. I enjoyed it. It's fine. The characters were fine. Kingo was funny. His butler was funnier. I enjoyed those characters. I hope to see them again. Something that this would be a negative that I should have brought up. I wish actually we would have had more time with Dane Whitman. And I think Dane Whitman's character, especially if he would have had the abilities of the Black Knight, could have layered a full circle conversation about if humans should live or not. I know the man was supposed to be that for us, but I think we could have had someone make a better argument on behalf of humans, whereas he just says, hey, I could do nothing, thank you for saving us, and, thank you for trying at least, and that's all he could do. And, I did like the character, though. He was funny. It was interesting. I think most people are in agreement that the best romance is the one that we barely saw, which was Makari and Druid. I am interested to see what they do with those characters, and Makari's speed was actually dope. I liked how she ran, and I liked how they did her character. Thought it was pretty freaking awesome. And I hope we see more speedsters like that. I thought Vastos' abilities were pretty cool. And yeah, I think most of it was awesome. I hope that we go back to that place again one day And just the fact that there is a Celestial's arm and head just sitting there now, I think is actually pretty cool. And I hope we see that more in the future. Now, to get into the cool stuff, the Easter eggs. Let's do the first one first. Pib, I do not know very well. I can't say that I've read tons of comic books about Eros, but I've listened to a lot about him. I think Harry Styles, as far as a person, is probably perfect casting for Eros. I'm concerned where they may take him, and if they may go too far with that character, but I do enjoy the character of Eros, and I'm curious what they're going to do with him. Just the fact that he is Thanos' brother, maybe in the future we get some flashbacks of Thanos and Eros together, and that would be pretty freaking awesome. Now, the part that and maybe the Eternals for me, I'm going to be honest, I think the Eternals for me, I really went to the theater, one, because I'm wanting to do this channel, and I'm wanting to make content like this, and I'm a nerd, and I enjoy stuff like this. Grown up reading comics and stuff, and shows, and all those things my whole life, so. But, I don't know the Eternals very well. I'm not going to act like I know the Eternals very well. So, it wasn't necessarily the Eternals necessarily that made me want to go out and see this immediately, but it was more so the Black Knight. The Black Knight was the character I really wanted to see, and I was really hoping that maybe we would see something with him, and we kind of did, kind of didn't. But I'm really digging possibilities that they'll do with Dane Whitman and what they'll do with that character, and I'm very curious the direction they're going to go with him. We'll see what they do, but hopefully they do some really cool stuff, and the fact that Blade at the end kind of leads us to think that maybe he'll be in Blade, and I'm pretty pumped for that. So, I don't think... Ooh! One last thing. The one thing that I think, if they come out with a sequel, and we'll see what happens, the one thing that I think we'll see in the sequel is, and it's going to be pretty crazy, but I think they're going to be held on trial. And they're going to be held on trial for the fate of humanity, and they are going to be held on trial by the Living Tribunal. I think the Celestials have to live by a set of rules, and if they go here, man, that's going to be crazy. But I think that we are going to open up a much bigger world that maybe in 10 years they wrap up, but this is going to be crazy. This is going to be a crazy next step into the Marvel Universe, and I'm very interested to see where we go from here. So, anyway, guys, do you disagree with what I think? Do you agree with what I think? Either way, leave your comments down below and let me know what you think. I would appreciate it, and I would love to hear some of your thoughts on this movie. Anyway, guys, much love. Hope y'all are doing well. And if it's this day, morning, or night, I hope y'all are having a good whatever it is. So, anyway, guys, peace. All right.